Hello and welcome to Author Talk with me, LG Thomson. So the concept behind Author Talk is that on Tuesdays I'll be answering the kind of questions that authors often get asked by readers, and Fridays I'm reserving for my book lists. These are books that have heavily influenced me or that I have really enjoyed. And as it's Friday, it's book list day, and today I'm going to be talking about The Catcher in the Rye. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I went to high school in Scotland in the late 70s and early 80s, and for anyone who's read my memoir, it's here, Modernist Dreams, Brutalist Nightmares, you will know that high school was not a happy time for me. But there were a few highlights, and for me these were either in the art class or in the English class, and I had a great English teacher for my 2 final years in high school, and one of the books we did with him was The Catcher in the Rye. And I have to say, this book was like a juggernaut to me. I didn't realise that a book could be like this, that it could speak to you so directly. So The Catcher in the Rye was first published in 1945, which seems pretty unbelievable to me. In my head it was always the 1950s. But it was published then. It's about a character called Holden Caulfield. He comes from a very, very rich family and he goes to private school. He could not be further away from my upbringing as a working class girl who went to school in Scotland, grew up in a council house, went to the local comprehensive school. But his attitude, the way he speaks, he's a transgressive character. So the people who published my 2 memoirs, Modernist Dreams, Brutalist Nightmares and Bitter Fruit, are called Outcast Press, and Outcast Press focuses on transgressive literature. So transgressive literature focuses on characters who feel confined by the social norms and expectations of society. They're people that are outside, on the edge, and by that definition, Holden Caulfield definitely fits into that, and therefore The Catcher in the Rye is a transgressive work of literature. It's the way that he speaks to you directly. It's the way that he speaks to you from the point of view of the teenager. It's not like an adult talking about the kids. It was his voice. And even although he is spoiled and I suppose he is a bit irritating, he didn't irritate me. I loved him. I thought he was great. Right from the very beginning of the book, when he's talking about the teachers giving people into trouble for wandering off subject, and that was the bits that he liked hearing about. It's it was all the stuff when you were given into trouble for looking out the windows or not paying attention because you were thinking about something interesting and not the wah 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 stuff that was happening at the front of the class. Well, that makes me think about Charlie Brown. That's how I often felt at school. It's still how I often feel as an adult, a bona fide old person now. I'm still that little kid. I'm still the kid in a Charlie Brown cartoon, sitting there, and all I can hear is wah 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 wah. Anyway, back to Catcher in the Rye. I don't know if you know this, but The Catcher in the Rye is actually comes from a lyric written by Robbie Burns, also known as Robert Burns, who's Scotland's national poet. I think we're possibly the only country in the world that celebrates one single poet. It's the 25th of January every year in Scotland. We celebrate Burns Night. So Burns Night is it's a tradition in Scotland. And I think it's absolutely fantastic that we have a day dedicated to one poet. We eat the traditional food of Burns Night, which is haggis, neeps and tatties. Haggis, if you don't know, is basically the innards of a sheep. So the lungs, which are called the lights, the lungs, liver, heart, all that kind of stuff, all sort of chopped up with oatmeal, lots of pepper, it's quite a spicy thing. Seasoned well, all wrapped up into the sheep's stomach, tied off and then boiled. So it's it's a pudding. Sounds kind of gross, tastes great. It's really, really nice. And it's a very kind of satisfying and filling dish. There's a vegetarian version, which is also really nice, still with the oats and everything. And as someone who's been on off vegetarian for most of my life, I love the fact that what haggis is all about is like no waste. Like none of the animal was wasted. It wasn't just taking the nice meaty bits and eating them. It was like nothing went to waste. They also used to use there's an old traditional Scottish soup called sheep's head broth. Never actually eaten that. Don't really want to eat that. Like when you're singing Auld Lang Syne at New Year, like you're singing the words of Burns. And for the record, it's Auld Lang Syne, not Zine. No Zine, Z, it's definitely not a Z. Two of the major American works of literature use words from Burns for the titles, and one of them is of course The Catcher in the Rye, and another one is Of Mice and Men. That is a line from Burns, Robbie Burns. This book just went through me like a hammer. It was, when I read it, I was like, I did not know that writing could be like this. I did not know that books could be like this, that they could talk directly to you in this way. So for me, it was a really, really exciting thing, and it's still something that I hold. I just think this book is wonderful. I suppose it's like, it was what, 80 years old now? Is it 50? How old is it? So it's been like 80 or so years since this book was published. And I don't think, probably because it was the first one that I read like this, like nothing has ever impacted me in that same way. It seemed to break the fourth wall, like you weren't reading a book that was separate, it was with you, you were just right in there with this character. And it was just bloody marvellous. So there we have it, Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. If you haven't read it, it's very, very, very well worth reading. It's an absolute treat. It's an absolute classic of transgressive literature. So I would like to thank Mr. Len Hughes, my English teacher, who introduced me to this book, and I would like to thank J.D. Salinger for writing it. Thank you. So I'll see you next time on Author Talk, and please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Bye. Get a buddy, meet a buddy.